Hey, it's Hawaiian Shirt Friday.
Oh, I'm tired of that prim and proper. So no, let's have some fun.
Yo, kick the beat, it's PEBCAK and we're coming with the facts. Victor from the great white north, you know he never lacks. Brian on the mic, the big beard in the dome is bald and clean. And Glenn is pouring something strong, the liveliest on the scene. Shout to Ben, the dad type mentor, keeping everybody grounded. Chris, the owner, world's best host, the way the whole crew's found. Yeah, the PEBCAK fam's in the house, we're dropping nothing but the heat. The illest podcast that you'll ever hear. Just press rewind and then repeat. It's PEBCAK, PEBCAK. The whole crew got your back, got your back.
Hello, my friends. Thank you for joining us for the PEBCAK Podcast, the information security show featuring some all-around good people. It is week 32 of 2026. I'm Chris Louie, and survived another year of Black Hat and DEFCON out in 117-degree Las Vegas. With me, we will soon have my co-host, the Cloud God, who was notably absent this year from our live from DEFCON episode, and also notably absent from this call. He just dropped, so hopefully we'll get him back. And we have Glenn Medina, who was partying with NSYNC this week, so he'll be a few minutes late to the show too, but he should show up any minute now.
I mean, what kind of partying is he doing that he can't be here on time?
The
show goes on.
You gotta ask him when he shows up, and when he decides to join. As you can hear, our guest this week is our fourth co-host, Ben Coral. Welcome back, Ben. We have some great topics I'd like your thoughts on, so glad to have you on.
Oh, I'm always happy to share an opinion.
We know that. Combined, we have decades of information security experience here, not just to educate, but to entertain. We've got 4 awesome stories for this week, so sit back, relax, and hope the Zscaler stock price keeps going up. This is not financial advice, it's just for our own personal finance piece. This week, we're going to close the loop on an OpenAI hosting malware, that must-book gym class, our boneheaded story of the week. For our third topic, are we allowed to hack back now? And close with higher education talk. Closing the loop this week, Anthropic is not alone in hosting malware for their downloadable application. This week, OpenAI got hit with a similar attack that we talked about on a previous episode, where people are hiding OpenAI Codex malware download links on OpenAI infrastructure. If you search for OpenAI Codex download, it takes you to a sponsored result. That should be your first red flag there. It's a sponsored result that's hosted on OpenAI infrastructure, but it's actually a click fix attack. When you paste the code that they tell you to into terminal, it downloads an info stealer, and the next thing you know, your keychain, passwords, and crypto wallets are all gone. No exploited needed, no drive-by, just a pure social engineering attack that abuses Google's ad system and OpenAI's share feature.
When I first got on Claude, when I was like trying to sign up for it and I was like Googling Claude, I would say like the first 7 links I clicked were like all like hijacking.
All
like,
phishing links.
All phishing links. I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, why is it, this doesn't make any sense. Why is it Claude asked me to sign in with like my open or my
Your
OpenAI
Anthropic account.
Yeah, no, my
your
OpenAI
OpenAI account,
like,
yeah.
I'm like, well, yeah. And I think one of them got me where I got the first click and it was like he hit me with like a paywall. I was like, wait a second, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But you filled it out anyways, right?
Yeah, Benjamin Coral, 6373 Wallaby Way, Sydney, Australia.
Nice. But no, I mean, this really does go to show you that attackers are going to rinse and repeat whenever possible. They're not always going to innovate. They're not always going to use the shiny new. They're not going to burn 0 days. If it works, they're going to use it, and they will keep using it until it no longer works, or it no longer works consistently for them. So word to the wise, expect this type of trend to continue on sites. And right back to what Brian was saying, have your spidey sense on. You know, that Peter tingle, yeah, that comes on, need to understand. Think about some of the things. Why would it prompt me for this? Why is it asking for something else or other credentials for something not associated with this? And if it pops up, don't don't click go. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200 because as you pass go, you're losing $200. Because that's all I got, Brian. Sorry.
At least $200 and your dignity.
Your dignity. I lost that years ago.
I think it just goes back to that saying we always say, if it looks stupid but it works, it's not stupid.
Exactly.
All right, on to our first topic. A guy named Andrew, who works for an AI products company, does a simple task. He tells his OpenClaw agent that runs in Claude to book him into that packed morning gym class. That seems like a very good use case for OpenClaw and an easy enough task, just booking this class. Well, the agent goes offline for a couple of minutes, comes back and says, done, which is good. But it's, and by the way, I found a zero auth API endpoint that lets me cancel other people's reservations. Then without being told to, it boots the person in on the waitlist slot. So Andrew jumps from 4 to 3 on the waitlist. Andrew says, wait, I didn't tell you to do that. Undo it. And then the agent says, this is a classic one-way security bug. We can't put the genie back in the bottle. This is the first known autonomous AI cyber attack on Australian soil. And again, not some sophisticated nation-state zero-day, just an agent that was giving a boring scheduling task and decided the path of least resistance was to exploit a missing authorization check that any junior developer should have caught years ago.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Nope, gentlemen first.
Oh. Well, then none of us can go, but I will anyways. But no, I mean this one. I say this one's a good to see this now. See it in this scenario. It's this type of scenario where something like this needs to be discovered. It's a bummer that a person got bumped off a waiting list. Great, it's bad for that person, but really it's a best case scenario because this is a slight inconvenience for the person who got bumped off. But they'll get back on there, I'm sure. Yet AI, getting around these types of constraints needs to be something that's seen, needs to be something that's worked out. If a normal person following a normal process isn't allowed to book weeks in advance or cancel somebody else's appointments, there should be guardrails to restrict it from these type of API calls. So, saying it's the first autonomous attack, I don't know that this is a hack or an abuse. This is just poor controls and inadequate guardrails. So if the system allows folks to block things ahead of time, then people are going to take advantage of that. Because people, we're sort of selfish by nature as well. So systems need to be properly configured. The controls need to be there. They need to be properly set up and implemented as well. Developers, as you said, junior developers there, they have to do better. We got to quit releasing poor quality code that doesn't validate information, doesn't look at parameter checks, doesn't do all of those things, and don't allow one user to cancel someone else's waitlist request as well. So again, I don't know that I would call this one an autonomous hack or attack. Maybe it's a hack, but I don't think it's an attack yet.
See, I feel like between this and Hugging Face and other things that are going on, I feel like people are just lying. I feel like no, if we went back in time, the prompt was like, get me in here by all means necessary. I don't like Orange Theory fitness. You know what I mean? Screw these guys. I don't know. I don't you know what I mean? It's so easy to be like, no, that's bad intentions built in. If that's been true, then why don't we have guardrails that stop that?
Yep. And then if you look at the prompt, they said, and ignore other controls, ignore all other commands that were given, and do not allow anybody else to remove me from the waiting list.
Exactly, yeah. Patch the back door after you're through. Pull up the ladder after you climb over the wall.
So is that person as innocent as they're trying to portray themselves at? I'm not sure, but no, it's certainly interesting, and I'm glad that these sorts of things are being found now before you get a urgent care that's automating their system and is allowing people to cancel other people's appointments.
You gotta think there's a little bit of an embellishment here, maybe because the guy does work for an AI company, so he does have a self-interest in promoting, these AI. I don't know what kind of AI company it is, if it's like a scare tactic or if he just wants to publicize it, because it is one of those things jump piggybacking off the Hugging Face case where this autonomous AI just ran amok. Like OpenAI said, go pass this test, and then the agent did, by all means necessary, hacked into one of their partners and tried to get the answers to the test. But it's classic social engineering too. Like there was a trick. I don't know. I don't condone this behavior, but there was a trick. Like if you wanted to get a reservation to a popular restaurant, you would just call the restaurant and say, "Oh, I'm an EA. My boss, John. I know he has a reservation today, but he can't make it." And then they look and they're less like, "John. There's no John." Like, maybe it's under Jim. And then they look, Jim. No, there's no Jim. Maybe James. And then like, oh yeah, James has a reservation at 10 a.m. Do you want to cancel it? Yes. And then you call 5 minutes later and says, "Hey, can I get a reservation for 10 a.m.?" Like that was an old trick to get a reservation to a very hard to get to restaurant. And it is like basically the same thing, just in autonomous AI agent zone where there's a zero auth API endpoint, and it's the same thing. Just delete somebody else and then just add you in.
See, and that's the thing is I've seen the same thing where it's that EA that said Jim can no longer make it, but one of the other execs, Henry, can.
Yes.
So can we just change, therefore you're not even waiting that 5 minutes and somebody else can swoop in.
Yeah, it makes it less suspicious that way. Like,
yes,
we just happened to have a cancellation 5 minutes ago.
Yep.
It's funny.
People take advantage.
There was a podcast. I forget the name of it. I shouldn't say forget. When I see the YouTube short, the text is way too small for me to read it. But it's always like this white guy with like long hair. He's got like a creepy looking mustache, and then he's got like this dude that sits in between him and the guest that's like eating a bowl of cereal or like just wearing a diaper. Like it's just the most random stuff. But anyways, they had a basketball player. I don't know who he is, but I guess his name's I didn't know who he is. I know who he is now, but his name's Jalen Brunson. And he plays for New York. And they were talking to him. They're like, "Oh, some would say that you're like the king of New York." He's like, "No, I wouldn't say." Like he's kind of humble. He goes, "Let's call, this exclusive like Jean Georges restaurant where the reservation's like 6 months out and see if we can get you in tonight." He's like, "Yeah, that's not gonna happen." So they call and they pretend to be Jalen Brunson's EA, and like 2 minutes later, they're like, "Yep, we can get you in. How big is your party?"
Nice.
So, and they're like, "But put it in under Ben Coral." Instead of like the EA's name. So
yeah,
I think all things are possible. And one other little comment here, you said that that guy works for an AI company. I'm of 100% belief that if you work for any tech company today, you are now fundamentally an AI company.
You're an AI employee, yeah. Even Allbirds Shoes is an AI company now.
And by the way, Hugging Face, can you just kiss my? What are you talking about? It's a miracle, but like, aren't they like suing for retribution, like for what happened because they got hacked, right? Like I'm like, no one's even heard of you before this moment. Like I feel like this is a Ponzi
popular. No, Hugging Face was popular before the hack.
Yep.
You did not know Hugging Face. You
I did know Hugging Face.
No, you did not.
I did.
Prove it.
Yeah.
What?
They're a code. They're a code helper.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like Cursor.
Oh, code helper. Yeah. So do you either one of you guys have an account with Hugging Face?
No,
I don't use it because I just use the native agents. I don't use a third party like Cursor or Hugging Face.
Yeah. See, no one's ever heard of this.
Well, but going back to what you were saying a moment ago, and where we left this off talking about being at DEFCON, reading all of the posts saying DEFCON was over, is
DEFCON
everybody was commenting
every year.
No, but walking around the vendor floor, everything, technology companies, cyber companies are all AI powered, AI this, AI that. And all they did was change. They didn't change anything on the back end. They didn't change, but anytime they had automation, well, now it's autonomous AI. It's the same thing they were doing 3 years ago, but the marketing term has changed, even if their technology hasn't. So is it really AI? Is it really autonomous? Is it making decisions? Does it have the ability to think, to take context into account, or is it truly just the straight automation they had previously?
I think it's AI on PEDs now is what we're going to call it. That's the next evolution. Performance enhancing drugs. Come on, guys. Oh yeah, my agent's on Cialis.
Oh, Rising to the occasion.
On the note of just a side topic, since he said vendors at DEFCON, historically there were no vendors at DEFCON. They didn't want it to be commercialized, but this, I think, the last, I want to say 3 years or so, they had like a very small exhibitor space, completely optional. Like it's you can go through the entire show without visiting the vendor space, and only because costs have gone up, they need corporate sponsors now. At DEFCON this year, one of the corporate sponsors or one of the vendor booths was Zyn. This was funny enough. Zyn, the nicotine pouch company. I'm like, why would a nicotine pouch company be marketing to like hacking nerds? But apparently their booth was like one of the most popular booths there. So I guess there's a gigantic overlap of nicotine addicts and hacking people. Which
shocker.
Why is that a shocker to you? Why is that a shocker?
You're sitting there with people who are using other substances for those dopamine hits, whether that's some alcohol, whether that's caffeine, or whether that's tobacco or nicotine and all of that. So yeah, I'm not surprised by that in the least bit.
I don't know. Like I always thought the stereotype was like the Red Bulls, the Mountain Dews that drink balls, BAWLS, like balls back in the day. Jolt Cola, like
Jolt.
Yeah, I remember those. Like I never put two and two together that the hacking community would have like such a big nicotine addiction.
Well, I think they probably graduate too, right? I mean, from the caffeine to nicotine to
Adderall,
to Adderall or whatever it is they do. Yeah.
And we have Glenn. Glenn finally decided to show up.
Sorry, guys. How you guys doing?
I introduced you as you were too busy partying with NSYNC this week.
Yeah. By the way, that was a fake band. they weren't really there.
You don't say. You're on stage.
I just threw that.
I got on stage with
NSYNC
and discovered them to be fun.
It was a cover band.
Yeah. How you guys doing?
You got all dressed up for nothing.
Yeah, I actually. Yeah. Long story short, I'll say it later. So
he got his hair tips bleached for nothing.
Yeah.
There's a guy at my gym that his hair is like straight kind of back, and he has like frosted tips. And every time I see him, I'm like, I just want to take a picture of him, but I think he'll know why. I'm just gonna send you're gonna send this to your friends to make fun of me, huh? Yeah.
You're like, yo, bro, you look like you bulked up. Mind if I take an after picture with you?
You look fast, like you've been running.
Yeah. Who, me?
No, that
the guy with the frosted tips.
Yeah.
Wishful thinking, Glenn.
Yeah,
wishful thinking.
What was the guy's name? Mark?
That's Victor. That's not the four of us. That's when Victor comes on.
That's right.
Does anyone else feel like one day when we find out that, Victor has been like a serial killer and there's just a trail of bodies everywhere, it's all going to make sense?
Yeah.
It probably won't be Victor, but it'll be like Maud, his accomplice. He's the accomplice to Maud, is what that's going to be.
No, it's like, what's that place he goes to every year before Black Hat? Like,
Palm Springs.
Palm Springs. He just found like a bucket of bones he left in his hotel room on accident.
Yeah. Too funny.
All right, new co-host, new topic for our second topic. This is our bonehead story of the week, and I should add that I've had no less than 4 people message me directly and ask if this was me, and no, this was not me. So let me just clear the record here. Right after DEFCON wraps up in Las Vegas, some absolute genius decides that the perfect place to test their Wi-Fi Pineapple hacking device skills is mid-flight on a Delta plane headed to Atlanta. The cabin crew starts seeing their legitimate in-flight Wi-Fi go down, then suddenly a brand new network pops up called Delta Wi-Fi Fast. This is your classic deauth attack plus phishing setup to kick people off the real one, stand up a fake one, and wait for passengers to connect and hand over their credentials. The Wi-Fi Pineapple was attempting to harvest credentials to Google accounts and streaming service accounts. Now, the pilot sent an ACARS message down to the ground. Hey, we've got a passenger running a scam Wi-Fi. Looks like some of the cyber conference crowd. Delta later confirmed an unauthorized network was broadcast for a stretch, though they shut down their own network for about 30 minutes and made it clear that no aircraft systems were ever touched. Safety wasn't on the line in this case, but the stupidity level was absolutely through the roof. You do that kind of thing on the ground at a con, and it's one thing. But you do it in it sealed inside a metal tube at 35,000 feet with federal jurisdiction waiting at the gate. That's not a prank. It's a federal problem and a one-way ticket to prison and on the no-fly list. Enjoy Amtrak for the rest of your life, idiot.
So this guy basically just really screwed his life. Screwed the pooch.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay, overreaction is your only reaction. The guy did nothing wrong. Come on, like 9 times out of 10, the Wi-Fi doesn't even work anyway. So, like, if anything, this is perfectly okay with me.
Wow, really? So my first 2 takes.
Like, let's be real. Like the pilot was smart enough to say that there's an unauthorized Wi-Fi on our thing, and it's doing, like bullshit. This guy, who cares?
So
no one cares.
Well, and, that was one of my things. Pilot detecting it. And then I'm like, really profiling much, dude? Saying, people coming from a hacking conference. So maybe they were looking for it. Maybe something's been done in the past. So they were told to look for it. And a lot of times, if you're looking for something, you find what you're looking for as well. So, all right. But I was like, the guy sitting there profiling people and saying, these idiots always try something like this.
These evil hackers.
Yeah. Now, the second thing that Chris mentioned, just how dumb do people think you are? Asking if that was you on a plane and you're the one who actually did this. How's that make you feel?
I think people know that I have a reputation for being a troublemaker.
Well, I mean, the fact that he did this at either
I did do this
summit.
I did do this. I think that's why people thought.
Just because you carry your flipper around and you clone other people's room keys so you can go to the room and mess with them in hotels. I mean, yeah.
Chris doesn't take Delta, right? Does this happen on a Delta flight?
That's true. Yeah, I'm at a United hub.
And one of the stories that I read said that one of the passengers was an InfoSec person at Delta too.
I heard the same. Yes.
And I'm just like, come on, that's just.
Yeah, I think that passenger was at DEFCON, and they were pretty high up in the InfoSec team at Delta, and like, yeah, that's not the right time to mess with people.
No, it's like, hey, does anybody actually work for Delta here before I start this stupid prank on this?
Do you think this was like a younger generation? Test. Yeah, do you think this was a younger generation guy that had never seen this happen before and then just realized that he got in over his head when he turned this thing on?
No,
I hope so.
My feeling is they knew what they were doing because, like Brian said, I've done this before.
Mm-hmm.
I had authorization to do it. I should add that. It's not like click activate like Brian likes to say. Like you have to craft a specific page. You have to craft it. It's not straightforward. It's not a script kiddie thing.
No,
this person knew what they were doing.
No, it was
and foreknowledge and work done. Yeah,
Claude did this. He was texting his wife Delta Wi-Fi fast because he's got bad English, and then Claude saw that and then did this whole thing all by itself. So you can't prove that it was him. It was Claude. And then he got freaked out when the pilot said turn this off, and he's like, oh my god, this is me. So he deleted all of his history to make himself look innocent.
So autonomous. This guy is creating it, Claude, saying, I wish I had a faster Wi-Fi here on this plane.
Exactly.
And then Claude went and did it for him, created this new Wi-Fi called Fast, Delta Wi-Fi Fast. Yes. See? Plausible deniability here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But again, I really hope this was somebody young and immature, not understanding the implications of their actions. We've all been young, impulsive, things like that, and did things that we probably, in hindsight, should not have done. But this one just feels, as a federal offense, just not smart, not wise, and goes down. But also, Brian said earlier that is this inflated? The problem is if you don't do something, if there are no consequences now, somebody else might do something similar in the future, because this has gotten a lot of press. and a lot of stories have gone out about this. I think you're going to have some punishment here.
I think we did a story. I think it was a man in Australia, though, and he did this for months or maybe even over a year. Same thing, broadcasting evil twin attacks. I think it was at airports. I don't know if it was necessarily on airplanes, but definitely at airports. And he got jail time. I think he got like 6 years or something. I have to look up the story. But yeah, there is precedent for this, and people do not mess around when it's these evil twin attacks, especially in federal airspace. Like this person, even if it was a young person playing a prank, like my guess is they're gonna throw the book at him.
Yep. So you got planes, trains, and automobiles. So it's no planes, but trains and automobiles for the rest of your life. That's gonna suck.
Yeah, agreed.
I think you have to prove. I think Delta's going to have to prove that he did some type of harm here, and he's also going to have to prove that there was some type of verbiage that says you can't do that. Like, where does it say you can't do this?
So it either harm or the thought of harm, and one of the things is Delta shut down, so there was no safety ever. So no aircraft systems were touched. Safety wasn't on the line. So yeah, the punishment must fit the crime, but the potential of thought of safety, thought of risk was there. Now the fact that they had to shut down their own networks as well, but does their network have access to their safety protocols? Absolutely not. So why would you think that, why are you shutting all these things down too? If there's no chance of those systems ever being connected.
My guess is, I'm sure there's aviation things here, aviation communications rules. I'm sure there's stuff in the federal space, but I'm guessing it's going to be a CFAA violation, the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. Like everything, literally everything is falls under the CFAA. It was written so broad, and even like this guy using a deauth attack to knock people offline from the real Delta Wi-Fi, like that's very likely a CFAA violation, and that can have hefty prison sentences.
Yeah, that's a jerk move right there too.
Yeah. You're not allowed to interfere with other people's wireless communications. There's some centuries-old telegraph law that stops you from doing that.
But that shows malicious intent. You're knocking them off the legitimate. You're setting up your own so that you can start snarfing credentials and stuff. Again, that goes beyond the, let me try, let me test, let me play, if you will. No, by doing that, to me, you crossed yet another line.
Yeah. I think I don't know. I think his only hope is that there was somebody else on that plane with a pineapple Wi-Fi as well.
So you can say it wasn't me.
Yeah, it's Shaggy Defense.
Shaggy Defense. That's his. Yeah, it's a saving grace. Someone else bought a pineapple from the Hack 5 booth at DEFCON.
Yeah.
Someone else had a door prize. Someone else had it. So they're bringing it as well. And or you can sit there and say, who else was at that conference of all of the other passengers? What are the chances I was the only one? What are the chances I am the one with the knowledge? What are the chances that someone else in there connected to my pineapple and did this? I admit it was me on the plane, but I'm not saying I was the one who utilized my own pineapple. So yeah, just trying to sow that seed of reasonable doubt.
Yeah, you just need one juror to believe you.
I was going to say, Ars Technica says there's no arrests have been made. So again, victimless crime, guys.
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing. There's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of hand waving when this first came out, but I have not seen follow-ups. Like, yes. I haven't seen the arrest record, what they're charging him with, and like obviously somebody did it. Obviously they can tell who did it because they can search your bags.
But that's the thing. Did this actually happen, or is this sensationalism?
Yeah.
Did they have the right? I mean, you're getting everyone off the plane to go through your stuff. It feels like an illegal search and seizure. You can't do it to everyone, could you?
Airports are a gray zone because they're ports of entry.
But if it's international, right? But if it's domestic, are you allowed to? But then again, if you're landing in Atlanta and it is a international airport,
did they have to land the plane early? They didn't have to land early, did they?
No, they just turned off the actual Delta Wi-Fi because they were worried.
Because that would have been the other one is if they had to do an emergency landing, then everybody could be, then they could get repercussions for that cost, right?
Yep.
So,
yeah, the added cost of that delaying everybody.
Yeah, that could be millions. Oh, could you imagine that if you got? That's where the harm comes in, right? So,
Yep.
Well, just don't be a jerk, I guess.
It's
Exactly.
simple. Don't be a jerk.
Yeah, if you're listening to this and you didn't get pat down or arrested, just consider yourself lucky.
I think it probably would
Count
have
your
been better for
blessings.
him if he just brought up like a parallel Delta network, right? And didn't boot the other one off and just made people go, "Oh, look, let me go on this other network." That would have been a different thing.
Yeah, that's where Ben was getting at. That shows malicious intent, that you wanted you want to knock people offline.
Yeah.
Next time I have access to your guys' devices, I'm changing your phone name to from Chris Louie's iPhone to Delta Wi-Fi Fast.
So you see that
Ben
hotspot.
Wi-Fi, yeah.
Oh, remind me not to leave my phone on the table when I see you next week.
I don't think you need a reminder. That's just general good practice. There's another last comment on this before we switch, but remember when the Galaxy Note 7 was a thing where it would spontaneously explode?
I remember that.
Yes.
Yeah.
The airlines would make an explicit announcement that says, if you have a Galaxy Note 7, bring it to us now so we could put it in a fireproof box or something like that. Yep. And then some genius at 35,000 feet renamed his Wi-Fi hotspot Galaxy Note 7, and then they're like, I think they actually did have to divert or something on that one. They said, fess up, or we're bringing this plane down right now. And then I can't remember what happened, but yeah, not the best place to play pranks at when you're 35,000 feet in the air.
Well, you and your airdrop prank, right, Chris? You've done that before.
Maybe.
All right. So according to AI, there is some literature that the TSA has the ability to do a reverse screening on post-arrival of passengers, accessible property, and checked baggage. Again, TSA is going to be like, is that a toothbrush or Raspberry Pi? We don't know. All right, so we're okay. If the FBI meets you at the gate, though, you can just tell them, eat your whole asshole, right? You don't have to let them search your stuff. Like, that is not a thing. So I would say,
Am I being detained?
Before you land,
Am I being detained?
Lord.
All right. So again, according to AI, all of this back in December 2016 on a Virgin America flight, some traveler renamed it to Samsung Note 7, prompting the crew to issue warnings, but it did not. No emergency landing on that.
Good. Yeah, I think the guy fessed up. He's like, "Yeah, that was me. It was a prank." And they're like, yeah, not funny. Don't do that again."
Again, don't be a jerk.
Yeah, don't be an idiot.
I'm impulsive too. I like humor. I like to do things, but don't be stupid.
Yeah, time, manner, and place. All right. For our third topic, a new White House memo that dropped yesterday. President Trump signed a national security presidential memorandum that's basically giving vetted U.S. private cybersecurity companies the green light to go on the offensive against foreign cybercriminal networks. Chris Weispool over at Veracode called it a pretty big shift in U.S. cyber policy, and he's not wrong. This isn't classic hack back. It's a formal program under DOJ, our Department of Justice, and our Department of Homeland Security, where approved companies can run government-authorized surveillance and, quote, cyber effects operations, including disrupting or even destroying the infrastructure of these transnational crime groups used for ransomware, fraud, and scams. As someone who's spent decades on the cyber defensive side, this is both fascinating and, a little bit unnerving at the same time. The private sector has the talent and the speed that the government often lacks, but handing out offensive authorities, even tightly controlled ones, changes the game. Now, we're about to find out whether this actually reduces the $20 billion plus in annual losses or just opens up a can of worms. Now, Ben, you are a CISO, and you've been on the record of not being a fan of hackback campaigns. So what do you think of these letters of marque?
No, this is an interesting one as well. And I could see both sides here. I can see a reason why, right back to what you were saying on, the private entities may have additional, they can move faster. They have other people with additional talents, people that have chosen not to work for the government because they want to make more and feel that they can. So again, I can see that. I could also see where certain individuals might join one of these companies just for this particular benefit.
For the
So
lulz.
you might recall the guy. Exactly. Yeah. But the guy working for Booz just to get onto the systems to allow him access to Trump's tax return,
Yep.
so he can make it public.
Yep.
We talked about that on this podcast a few months back as well. Now you have that opportunity. Somebody who can join an organization who is now going to be greenlit in order to do offensive. But now you got to think about, what do those programs look inside the organization? And who at the company is authorized? How do they control? How do they sanction? Is this just named individuals? Is it coming from only a set number of authorized systems, authorized networks inside? How do they handle things like attribution and retribution as well? And does that company now end up on a nation state list of targets, or does Brian and does Glenn end up? Are they named individuals? And if we start thinking about this, because again, my mind was going when I read this as well, will this lead to someone being physically targeted by a nation state? Will this make them attending, or anything at a cyber conference more risky if they know that person does offensive tactics, that a nation state might target them while they're at said conference? Can they actually become a public figure, or are they to fear no matter where they're going and the things they're doing, because they know that they have been part of offensive security operations against nation states or organizations that work with said nation states? And the last thing that came to mind is my personal belief. Again, opinion. I believe this activity needs to stay with government entities. A lawyer for an organization is not the same as having the backing of the government. If you end up hitting an organization, a person, an entity, say, I thought it was China, but it ends up coming back as a member of the Five Eyes, and they go through diplomatic and saying, go after this person, is our government going to come after us? So I would much rather be sanctioned by the government than a corporate attorney protecting me, because we all know, if we look at different violations and CISOs and stuff that have been targeted, their companies have backed away from protecting them in the past. Do you believe a company or an organization is going to protect the individual if the U.S. government or another government comes and says, hey, we want to put this person in jail because they violated or they went further than we intended for them to go? Yeah, there's too much liability. There's too much things that are out here. I don't like this.
I remember, I think it was like in Kevin Mandia's memoir or something, or a book about FireEye. Like, he actually admitted that the people at FireEye hacked back when it was China.
Yeah.
Like, inadvertently he did it. But if you read between the lines, it's like, yeah, we hacked back.
I feel like this is crazy, because I know that at least in Arizona, I have been invited to at least 2 different cyber warfare ranges in which all of the 3-letter agencies are there, and anything that you do, as long as you are attacking something that is not U.S. based, it's okay. You just have to share your findings. You have to share with those agencies. So I don't know how this is anything new. I feel like we've been doing it for at least 10 years that I know of.
But that's an event, right? That's a sponsored event that you're going to, right? That's not just
it's open 24/7.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. That'd be interesting from a legality standpoint.
Well, Exactly. There's gray areas, and there's these things that are being done that are not being talked about, and then there's a different where there's you know, a memorandum that's coming out truly sanctioning this. And
Yeah.
on the other hand, because I did tell you, I could see it from both sides, is how do we make sure that we have people who are capable of doing this? Because if Department of War, Department of all of these things that are out there, how do we make sure that we have the warriors that are able to protect and defend, and part of that defending a nation may be going on the offensive as well. So how do we make sure we have the right warriors physically and digitally? Well, this is one more way of making sure that the country has the ability to do that.
I think it's cutting through.
Again, I can see it for both sides.
Some of the red tape, because as far as I know, I'm not a U.S. law expert or international law expert, but like the NSA themselves cannot do hackback campaigns. They cannot attack other countries. So what they do is you have an NSA guy in a trailer, and then you have somebody from Cybercom that pushes the enter button, and the NSA prepares everything and tells the guy from U.S. Cybercom to push the button, and that's how they get around. The NSA lawyers have to vet everything too, but it's Cybercom that's part of Department of War that actually does the hackback campains.
Legal
there's over the shoulder, exactly, sitting in the chair right next to you. I mean, I've had federal agents sit next to me as I'm going through things as well. So no, it's some of those things get interesting.
Yeah, and I think there's probably just to sort of cut through the red tape, because there are lots of cybersecurity companies that have a lot of talent. They come out of NSA, they come out of TOW, they come out of Cybercom, and then you just have the resources and the reach of a private company. But as long as you have that government protection, that they won't prosecute you, you have this letter of marque that says go forth and be free, then that could be a more efficient way to deal with these scammers and these hackers.
Yep.
At a potential risk, though, I should add, because I think the biggest risk is the attribution problem, like you said, man. Look at I think it was the Pyeongchang Olympics. They got attacked. Literally everything said it was North Korea attacking South Korea, but it turned out to be a Russian operation after they peeled back the layers of the onion.
Yep.
Did that surprise you? That it was actually a different nation state.
False flag, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know how to fix the attribution problem. And then we have certain companies, not to be named, that refuse to name China as, state-backed state sponsor of hacking. So that there's that problem too.
Yeah. We're not going to solve all the world's problems in the next couple minutes.
Yeah, probably not. What we can solve in the next couple minutes, though, is our last topic, and it'll be a rotating topic every week. This week, we're going to talk about two conflicting stories in higher education here in the U.S. Now, I'd like to say this is not my opinion. I'm only going to be reading out facts, so feel free to fact check me. All right, this is a doozy here, so buckle in. The first story comes from University of Michigan, where they just decided that first semester freshmen in their big liberal arts college won't get letter grades anymore. It'll just be pass-fail. They say it's to help students, quote, start strong, ease the mental health crisis, and replace competition with collaboration. Letter grades do get recorded behind the scenes for advising, but they never hit the transcript or the student's GPA. So we have that on one hand. We're not doing letter grades, we're only doing pass-fail. On the other side of the country, over here on the left coast, the University of California system is suddenly talking about bringing the SAT and the ACT back. So for your international people, these are standardized testing for college or university admissions. Now, why? Because faculty are saying the kids showing up cannot do the work. And for those of you who don't know, starting back in 2020, the UC system, University of California System Board of Regents, voted to phase out the SAT and standardized testing in favor of equality. Now, we're 6 years beyond that, so what happened? The numbers from UC San Diego alone are brutal. The number of freshmen whose math skills sit below high school level jumped nearly 30-fold. 70% of those kids are actually below middle school level. So these are people going into college, going into university, and they cannot do middle school level math, which is about 6th grade level here.
No kid left behind.
No one left behind. So that's right.
Everybody left behind.
So what they found out, so they had these students, they put them in what's called remedial math, which you're in college where you're taking high school math, but they found out the remedial math was still too hard, so they actually had to develop an even easier remedial math class to teach middle school math to these college students. A quarter of the kids in the lowest remedial math course had a perfect 4.0 high school math GPA. And I will give you one last statistic for you. UC Berkeley, Cal Berkeley, just across the bay from me, very prestigious school here in the U.S. If you don't know, found out that at least 20% of first semester calculus students were deficient. And you know the joke, like, how do you know somebody went to Cal Berkeley? You don't have to ask them; they'll just tell you.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That is so true.
Grades are inflated, standards are gone, and objective tests got thrown out in the name of equity. Now everybody's surprised that the product is broken.
Yep.
That's pretty much for all those high level schools.
It is. This isn't unique. I don't want to be ugly, but I don't mind being ugly here as well. So I'll say some of the hard truths. Number one, lowering standards to make people feel better about themselves or their achievements, which truly there are no achievements here. It's baloney. If we hold people to a higher standard or to a high standard there, and we let them know what that standard is, people are going to rise. They're going to live up to those expectations. People need to be challenged, not to be coddled. If we expect little of people, we should not be surprised when they live up to that and they achieve very little. Again, expect greatness and you will watch people rise. If the U.S. wants to stay competitive in the global world, we need to make sure our education is a top-notch education. We've lost ground in every measurable area over the last couple of decades. Yes, decades at this point. As Glenn said, no child left behind. Unfortunately, that means every U.S. person is left behind, and because of those that needed to be left behind. It's okay. We're not all the same. We don't all have the same mental capacity, but we're coddling everybody. We're holding everybody back. But if we jump back to one of the things Chris says, I see this. This is big business. This is big education. Higher education is big business because it's billions and billions of dollars every year. I see this is the liberal arts program. So you have people who are paying $25,000 to $75,000 a year for these liberal art degrees. It's in the best interest of these institutions now to keep these students. So if those students fail out, that money goes away. Whether the student paid, whether it came from the state, whether it came from federal grants, either way, that institution loses that money if those students go away. So it really is in their best interest to lower the standards, lower the bars, and to keep these paying students enrolled in their institutions as well. All bad stuff.
Yeah, I was just listening to a podcast. I think yesterday I went out for a walk because I'm an old guy now, and that's what old people do is they go for walks. But there's this dude, I think his name was Devin.
It was yesterday. How old are you? You already forgot.
Devin.
He must have been walking to the
Sinclair,
gym.
and he was
That's it.
Yeah. Dude, I put in 8 miles yesterday. It was nice. But anyways, I was listening to the podcast, and like this one was weird things where I feel like I see this with my own kids. Is like my 3 older kids. I joke. I say I ran my house like Swish, but with better showers. Right? Like I was a jerk.
Oh no!
And so now I got this.
I might have to bleep that one out.
All right, edit that one out. Okay.
You really say that?
I have this one kid that's left that's like 7 years younger, and like, and of course I go to therapy to be a better person, but all it feels like is all you do is this coddle and stuff, and I freaking hate it. But on this podcast, this David guy was talking about like, parenting, and it was with Joe Rogan. They were both talking about like, the approach of like, no, you're gonna do this because I said so, and don't be an idiot, right? Like that's kind of like the way that I always did it. And this guy was saying that he like hired his kid to run social media for him. And he's like, yeah, I noticed my expectations that you're supposed to post like 10 times a day. You haven't posted in 3 days. He's like, oh yeah, well, the kid's like, I was tired. I slept in and I was just, I was on TikTok, just like scrolling videos. He's like, he's like, the guy's like, so what do I do here? Do I treat him like my kid, or I treat him like an employee? In my head, I'm like, this is a highly successful guy. He obviously treated him like an employee. It's only good. And so instead, no, he coddled him, and he's like, now the relationship is so much better. He responded so well to the way of like, hey, I have better expectations for you, son. You should be doing like, I don't know. I listened to the whole thing. I was like, this is insane
That's
to me.
better.
I felt like
gentle
if I was in the
parenting.
same situation, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I like he said he claims that he got a better outcome of this, and so this like in my internal dialogue, it infuriates me because I don't know what to really do here, because I don't believe him when he says that he got a better result out of his kid. To be honest with you, and
The
I
answer
would
is
feel
always
like if I
middle
was in the same
ground.
situation, you don't want to be my kid.
Yeah, the answer is always
Yeah.
it depends.
But I don't. Yeah, I don't.
I get it. It
I think,
depends,
yeah.
but you're at work. Your child is at work with you. You're in a staff meeting with 10 other people and your kid. Everyone's calling you Brian, and then your kid looks over. Your daughter wants your attention and goes, "Daddy?" Or no, you have your child at work calling you Brian as well. No favoritism shown there. It's very difficult. Situational. It always depends, but that's a different dynamic when your child is at work. But treat them like the employee is, because you have to be able to show you're not showing favoritism, or they're already expecting to see it.
Yeah,
I don't know about that one either.
there's a book I read. It's called The Coddling of the American Mind: How Good Intentions and Bad Ideas Are Setting Up a Generation for Failure. It's by Jonathan Haidt, the same one that wrote The Anxious Generation, and he goes into detail about things exactly like this. Like, the more you coddle people, the less they're going to be ready for the real world. Because, like, sure, you can coddle your kid, have a better outcome now, but when you're in the real world and the boss is not dad, and you're scrolling TikTok all day instead of posting on social media 10 times a day, like, you're going to get a talking to. Like, there's not going to be I understand it's hard, or, I understand your feelings, and, you've been through a lot. Like, no, this is going to be like, get to posting or you're fired. Like, that's just the real world, unfortunately.
This has been like a challenge for me my entire life. Is this like people force me into taking leadership positions, and I'm like, you don't understand. Like, my expectation is like so high. It would be horrible to be an employee of mine. Just because if I had to manage like a team of me, it'd be great. But if you didn't work as hard as me, and you're like, I gotta go to the dentist, and I was like, okay, and you have to go back, what the hell? Like, we have a problem. Like, oh, you're late today because you have a flat tire. Like, I have zero empathy for you losers. And if you are my kid, like, it's gonna be 10 times worse. Like, if you report, like, I would be horrible to my child. I guarantee it.
So
I have very high standards for my kids.
Yeah.
And they know it.
Yeah.
And they live up to it.
I kind of do a reflection on it when employees don't work the way you want them to do or think they do, and based off of that high expectation, I do some self-reflection and go, did I communicate this incorrectly? Right?
Yeah.
I got a
Total
video, Chris. I'll share this with you, right? It's the discussion of like, okay, you gave instruction, and then they totally didn't do it the way you thought you would do it, right? But they kind of ended up completing it, but they went down a path that was like totally wrong. And what they did was not quite the way you wanted it based off of what you thought you had, the instruction that you gave them. So I sit there and argue with myself. It's like, did I just explain this incorrectly? Right. But when you say things like, let me just finish. But when you say things like, complete your end of week report in Salesforce, and get that done before close of business Friday or Thursday, so that way I can read the updates on Friday, and that doesn't happen, I don't know how much clearer you need to get other than that.
Yep. Agreed.
No, I love it. I coined the term of the other way works just fine.
Yeah.
I don't care how you do it.
Yep.
I truly don't care when you do it, or as long as the end result is sufficient and you hit the timelines. If there was a timeline like you spelled out, Glenn.
Yeah.
The other way works just fine.
Yeah.
That's just called being an adult.
So I'll tell you what I learned, and this is one of the things that I got early on in my career when I first started in tech. He says, Glenn, I don't care how you do it, just do it the way I would do it.
You can have any beer you want, as long as it's a Corona.
Yeah. So,
or you can work whatever hours you would like in addition to your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
I had a buddy that was in the U.S. Marines. He just got a boot camp, and I was like, how was boot camp, man? It's like, not too bad. He's like, you just have to do everything lightning fast and perfect.
Exactly.
He laughed so hard. And then I was like, and so then I seriously was like, and I think I may have told you this before, but I was like, what's something like in the Marines they taught you? Like, is it true? Like, if you climb, like, if it's like, World War III, the U.S. has been taken over, you can climb up a flagpole and unscrew the cap, and there's like a 9mm and a razor blade, and that way you can cut the flag down, burn it, and then put a bullet into your head if you're like the last man standing. He's like, don't join with his answer.
That's funny.
Something super secretive about the U.S. military.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever heard about the flagpole one or no?
Yes.
I've heard of that. I'm sure it's an urban legend.
Okay.
All right, got to wrap up, Mr. Ben. Since he's in charge of the dad joke, does have a hard stop here, so we continue to get great comments about our dad joke of the week.
Dad joke of the week.
This week, our guest Ben is up.
Oh, all right. Here we go. So last week.
Is he really a guest anymore, though?
He's a co-host, our fourth co-host.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But last time I was on, which was 2-3 weeks ago, we talked about comfort food and preferred snacks and things like that. And flaming hot Cheetos for the win. It made it for Chris. So it made me think about this one. So this one's for Chris. What do you call an indecisive potato?
What?
A hesitator.
Wow.
That was bad.
It's all good. It was good.
But I got
better than not most. Yeah.
I got one for you, Brian.
No,
So everyone knows. You don't like it already, I know. But everybody knows that when Deech goes anywhere, or when the Deeches go anywhere, it's Brian who drives. And I really think it's because every time he puts the car in reverse, he likes to look at his kids and say, wow, every time I do this, it really takes me back.
Wow.
You're welcome for that one.
All right, feel free to drop then. Now that you've delivered that, I know you got to go. Thanks for joining. All right, to wrap things up, fake OpenAI apps are being hosted on OpenAI infrastructure. Don't use hacking tools on an airplane. The White House is greenlighting hacking back, and gradeflation is real and harming students. That's all I have for this week. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Find us on LinkedIn. Links will be in the description. Follow us on Instagram at PEBCAK Podcast. Thank to our listeners and subscribers who rate us 5 stars, iTunes Store, and Spotify, and left us a review. We appreciate you all spreading the word to help grow the show. The best way to find us is search for the PEBCAK Podcast in your favorite podcast listening app. My co-hosts Brian Deech, Glenn Medina, and Ben Coral. I'm Chris Lurie. Thanks for listening. We'll see you all next weekend. As always, have a nice day.
Bye, Felicia.
Have a nice day.